the cloud. All right. Hi, everybody. So we're starting off with becoming relationship ready. I'm going to kind of speed through the beginning of it just so you get the background, because I understand that it really gets good when she starts giving examples. So, oh, you know what I'm realizing? I didn't share the screen, so people are not going to be able to see. There we go. Share. And there's no sound, so share. Okay. Now it should be working right. So that's Lila Turner. Whoops, gotta get good at these. Looks like somebody else just joined. Anyway, Lila Turner. Admit. Okay. After graduating from Central St. Martin's, Lila began her career as a women's wear designer. In 2012, she had a life-changing insight. By understanding her thoughts differently, she could live her life in a different feeling. This realization led her to shift careers and join One Thought, which is a business, as a consultant and executive mentor. As a partner and director at One Thought, Lila worked with organizations, entrepreneurs, and individuals, helping them work, live, and thrive from a deeper, clearer state of mind. Through this work, she noticed recurring patterns among her high-achieving clients who struggled to find love. In 2016, she founded Relationship Ready, a dating and relationship sister company specializing in helping high-achieving individuals who can make anything in their life work, except love. As her clients fall in love, she falls more in love with her work. A sought-after speaker, published author, podcaster, and mentor, Lila regularly presents at conferences in the UK and internationally, sharing her insights. And in fact, I met her in the backseat of a car when we were transporting from 3P UK. So on love and relationships, she lives in London with her partner, Aaron Turner. They have 2 young adult children who light up her life. So we can skip over the copyright stuff and you can give a quick look at how many, I love the titles of some of these. I don't know what, the red swim shorts, the click, practice pancake. What could that be, right? Charisma catnip. She's got some interesting titles here. So, and by the way, thank you all for joining me, because I'm doing this since I knew I would never find the time to read this book and I wanted to read it. But if I have a time and a day to show up for other people to do a book club, then I'll read the book. So here's Lila's note. The changes I've seen in others have given me a deep appreciation for how our lives can change when we understand how our thoughts and feelings work. Me too, me too. While writing this book, I found myself dropping into moments of wonder at the energy behind life, the energy that connects us all. Moments where I marveled at the magic of the mind. When I decided to write this book, I just want to check. This is recording, right? Yeah. Sorry. My ADD just kicked in. While writing this book, I found myself dropping into moments of wonder. When I decided to write this book, I assumed I'd simply be telling the stories of the people I've worked with. I didn't expect that in the writing process. I would need to go deeper into my understanding of the essence behind life so that I could tell these stories. Observing people uncover new parts of themselves and find new paths in their minds and lives nudged me to consider letting go more myself. I didn't know that my story would become integral in my being able to talk about love. It has been a vulnerable experience to share my life as it has unfolded over the years. I've been lifting moss-covered thought rocks that I had never expected to revisit. What I found underneath has sometimes given me pause. I've had to consider who I was at that time in my life. and how hard it was trying to figure it all out to be okay. Sometimes I relive the pain and pinch of those moments, witnessing myself, my history, my choices with emotional nakedness. But the beauty in the writing process is that in order to write about the thoughts that have shaped my journey, I've needed to see them with fresh eyes. This has been a gift. It has given me the opportunity to see myself with more love and understanding. Love and understanding have allowed me to let go and soften into who I am. As you read my stories, you may think I'm a slow student. It may look as if I've been ending back at square one over and over again, revisiting the same lesson. But this isn't the case. I've never been the same after gaining an insight. No one is. I can attest to that. We can't give back wisdom once we've felt it. Once you feel wisdom, there's no way to, you can't let it go because you see it. It's always been with you. We might forget for a while or look away, but we live in the quiet knowledge that something different is possible. Every insight I share in this book has taken me on a journey of learning and unlearning, helping me to gently uncover one thought layer at a time as I move towards a gentler life and a more loving relationship with myself. My path, like those of so many others, has unfolded in a wonky line. Learning and discovering deeper parts of ourselves is an organic process. We are organic. Our mind is organic. Our nature is elastic if we allow ourselves to live more in the moment. For all these reasons, I'm so grateful to have written this book. This book is about our limitless potential for love, to feel love, to be open to love, and to realize that we are made of love. I hope there's something valuable and freeing in here for you. I hope that as you read, you look inside yourself and ask, what about me? What else is there for me to see? Could I be limiting myself with my thoughts? What would happen if I just let go of them? If I stopped listening to the story in my head right now? What might life look like and feel like? What might happen if I was curious about me? I hope you use this book to look inside and open up to beautiful parts of yourself that deserve a visit. And if you're feeling particularly brave, to beautiful parts of yourself that you could live in. With love, Lila. Intro. I work with people looking for love, high-achieving, capable, passionate, sparky people who have found the key to success in almost all areas of their lives, except the area of love. Anybody relate? In my experience, capable people struggling to find love often assume they haven't worked hard enough, haven't tried enough dating apps, haven't been on enough dates, or haven't read enough books to find the kind of partner they want. Well, I'll interject something here. I've done that for many, many, many years. I've done exactly that and finally arrived at an amazing, amazing realization that I'll share at some point. They assume that they haven't been specific enough about what they're looking for, which is to feel alive, to feel equal, to feel at peace, to feel able to relax, and to feel a beautiful connection with another person, their person, to feel intimate, cherished, and unique, to feel a loving and direct connection with another soul. I'll bet there's no one listening to this, reading along with me, that doesn't know how that feels. I think this is not unique to Lila or to me or to anybody listening. I think this is true for everyone. How hard have you worked at love? Have you tried multiple strategies to find a relationship that feels good to be in? Have you been refining a magic formula for finding a perfect match? Do you have a tick list of qualities that you want in a partner? So many funny stories from me and clients of mine about this. Almost all the people I work with have a tick list. One based on the assumption that if their love life isn't going to plan, then more planning is required. They assume that if their relationships aren't giving them what they feel they need, then being more driven, specific, and focused is the answer. But the more intense and serious they get, the less enjoyable or easy dating becomes. Can you relate to this? I certainly can. People often come to me with the logic that if they work as hard in their romantic life as they do in their professional life, they'll achieve the same level of success. They're used to working hard, so diligence, graft, and effort aren't a problem. But this is where the struggle and frustration come in. It's easy to think that hard work and perseverance are the answers. Have you dated with this assumption? How many of us have found ourselves in a relationship that started out great, but ended up crumbling with things between you feeling awkward and unnatural? A client once told me that she was no good at relationships until she found out that there was another way to date. She, like many, had tried to be something other than herself in her relationships, not comfortable or confident. She'd become a self-conscious, insecure, and shrunken version of herself, not at all who she was when she was relaxed and happy, vibrant, funny, and confident. Can you relate to this? Have you ever fallen into a pattern of editing yourself, of making yourself small or nice and accommodating to make someone else happy? I mean, that was the main theme in our last group of Finding Deep Connection. That was the main theme. Did you end up feeling frustrated, restricted, disjoined, and gagged? Did you end up feeling lost and less lighthearted than you were when you were on your own? Did you start to feel as if maybe dating wasn't worth it? I collect friends now. Dating is, in my mind, dating is when you're already in a relationship and then you go out and you date each other. Anyway, we all think differently. What about your partners? Have you ever tried to change someone to make it work? Have you ever tried to improve, tweak, and correct someone else in order to smooth out the knots of unhappiness you were feeling? Did it work? Did you feel like yourself while you were trying to change them? Nah. Maybe you've gone all in for a full-on renovation of your spouse, an attempt to get what you think you want in a mate. I'm sure many of us have given it a good go, and I'm sure we all scored high on effort and low on results. It just doesn't work. We can't enjoy a loving connection this way. What about happiness? Have you lowered your happiness bar for the sake of workable? Maybe you've tried everything possible to make your relationship feel workable, but somewhere along the way gave up on rewarding. Maybe workable felt like the only realistic option on offer, given your past relationship experiences. But where did fun go? Where along the road did enjoyment fall away? What if the ingredients to finding connection and love are much simpler and naturally sourced than you imagine? What if there are clues in your feelings that will show you that it's not you, but your thoughts that are making it all so hard? Ask yourself this: do you feel like the real you when you show up to a date or when you're trying in your relationships? If not, then reconsider this as a profoundly helpful clue. When it comes to dating, you aren't using your natural tools, the tools that are innate to you. Dating with effort is exhausting, so is trying to change your partner. Not being yourself is soul smothering. Distorting yourself will always take you in the wrong direction. There's another way to date, and the necessary ingredients aren't effort or focus or drive. I help people take the pressure off trying to get it right. I help people see the invisible thoughts that are restricting them in their romantic life. Ooh, blind spots. I help people take a step back from their romantic life, recalibrate their clarity, and come back to it with fresh eyes. I wrote this book because I wanted to share the stories of people who experienced a shift in their understanding of themselves that led to a life-changing impact on their romantic life. I wanted to share these stories because they've been profoundly inspiring to be part of and deserve to be told. Amen. These stories can offer people struggling to find love and insight into another way to approach connection. They go against so much of the current thinking and advice about how to find a partner or make a relationship work. Yes, yes, yes. Looking at what is on offer in the social media sphere is horrifying. Do this, say the right words, text these 5 words. It's insane what's out there. This is totally opposite from that. So hang in there with me, with Lila. It bears repeating. There is another way to date. My own dating and relationship experience has played an inextricable role in my work with others, so I found myself weaving in more of myself than I anticipated. I hope that my story and the incredible stories of the people I've worked with will illustrate how different things can be when we look inside ourselves for wisdom. I've also included a section on dating tips. These tips are based on insights I've had about my own romantic life and the people I have worked with who are looking for love. Each example or analogy is an invitation for you to see that there is a new way to date and approach relationships. Throughout this book, I'll be describing in my words how the mind works from the perspective of the 3 principles. Below is a short description of them, but if you're interested in learning more, see the longer explanation at the end of this book or go to the source of this understanding, which is Sydney Banks. Let me go back for a minute. And for those who are listening, I do a program every Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern Time, the teachings of Sydney Banks. We listen to literally 5 to 8 minutes of Sid, one of his audios, videos, and it's by donation only, so people don't pay anything if they don't want to. But we're an incredible group of people. A couple of therapists join us, a couple of nurses. The author of Perfect Misfortune, Alan Flood, who knew Sid. You'll find out more. Anyway, 12 noon Tuesdays. So take your thinking caps off and just feel. Forget these words. Sid always said, go beyond the words. You've got to get the feeling for what this means. The truth behind the words, the spiritual truth. Okay. Thought, mind, and consciousness are a spiritual system that bring to life our experience of being alive. Thoughts create our experience and perception of reality, moment by moment. I'll add from birth to death. No one is excluded. This is how we work. This is how humans work. And there are thousands of people around the globe, including psychiatrists, psychologists, et cetera, business people, who have gained a deep understanding of this, and many who are just beginning to see what this is about. It's like a miracle in life that is always being uncovered by more and more people. And that's how the world will change. The mind is the source of the formless divine energy that powers our experiences. I'll say that again. Mind, Sid would say mind with a capital M, or he would say divine mind is the source of the formless energy that powers our experiences. There are many ways to say this. People also call this God. Native Americans, I really love this term. Let's see if I can remember. The Great Spirit. the Great Spirit. I mean, we have heard, obviously, we didn't create this. There's something, the Big Bang. Okay. So what's behind the Big Bang? I'm a scientist, or I'm interested in science, but what is it? So these three principles, and by the way, principles ending in PLES, like the principle of gravity, which is true for everybody, no matter where they are on the globe at all times. These three principles that we create an experience of life is true for everyone through the gifts of mind, thought, and consciousness. It is what allows us to experience life. And I hope that the stories in this book will help you find, build, and enjoy your relationship life moment by moment. Every client story in this book has been read by the client and passed the yes, that feels like me and my story test. Names and details, some details have been changed, but the spirit of the stories and the insights shared have not. And there is sydneybanks.com. And there we go. Relationships are hard. Is this true? Let's check the evidence. A lot of people say relationships are hard. Most people I would say. Then that's how I make a living, helping people with their relationships. So, very interesting. Your life will hold the stats. You just need to know where to look for the patterns, right? It's like we go back into the past. When you try to change yourself or your partner, how often do you end up feeling more connected to them or yourself? 60% of the time, 20%, 1%, never. When you become serious, diligent, and critical in your search for a partner, often do you find yourself in a loving, rewarding relationship? 60% of the time, 20%, 1%, never. I've never seen this type of effort, focus, and trying result in a romantic relationship that lasts long term. Instead, I see a consistent pattern. The harder people work for it, the further away love seems to get. It dances out of reach, a moving target. When we are intense and secure and judgmental, love will shuffle quietly out of the room. Love will not compete with your insecurity. When it all gets too hard, frustrating, and disheartening, many people just give up on dating. They pour their energy into their work or friendships instead. It can feel like the evidence is in and the jury has decided. Relationships are hard. I meet so many people who have concluded that all the good ones are gone, or that dating in this era is impossible, or that worse still, there's something wrong with them. Some have been looking for decades and feel they've tried everything and therefore know the truth of the dating situation out there, that dating is hard. In fact, there's nothing wrong with any of my clients. They've just been going about things the hard way. Every story I hear from people struggling to find love illustrates in some form how they've been showing up to their romantic life with a head full of unhelpful thoughts that make it almost impossible to connect with potential partners, thoughts that make it hard to see who's in front of them. Hello? Keeping the past in the past. Most of us have experienced heartbreak or deep disappointment of some kind. Have you ever wondered how your past experiences might be affecting your present? How they might be tainting how you show up to your dating life? What if your past negative experiences aren't helpful when it comes to navigating your wisdom and intuition in the present? What if fear and negativity block your ability to hear your wisdom? This is a question that deserves pause. What if fear and negativity are blocking your ability to hear your wisdom? In italics. This is so true. If negative thoughts build up as a result of painful or frustrating experiences over time, we can look at the world through the lens of these negative thoughts. It's like wearing colored glasses. These glasses will make you think that you're staring at a depressing reality. The more you hang on to pessimistic thoughts, the darker the glasses will get, and the more depressing everything will look. Our thought lenses are what we use to collect evidence about our life, about what's good and bad, easy and hard. We call that how we've been conditioned to see life. But how often do we consider that what we're seeing might be a result of a low quality thought lens that's distorting our perception? What would happen if you stopped looking at your life through the lens of your past? Would everything fall apart? Would you feel more vulnerable? Or would you be able to see everything with a fresh perspective? You might just find you could be the most natural, clear version of yourself. You might just learn to trust yourself. This book is an invitation to have a conversation with yourself about just this. So glad we're recording this so people can just, listen while they're cooking and pause and consider these questions. Becoming relationship ready. The nudge. Relationship ready became a puppy that wouldn't get off my lap. From the first moment it had a heartbeat in my consciousness, I daydreamed about what it might look like to work with people who were struggling to find love. I daydreamed about how their dating outcomes might change if they knew what was making it so hard to date. If someone helped them remove the barriers that make finding a meaningful connection so difficult, I wondered if I could be this person. I wondered if I could help dissolve the thought patterns that make dating and relationships feel frustrating for so many people, craving love and connection. It's funny, I'll just have a little aside that I started finding deep connection around the same time that I think maybe a little bit after Lila. I didn't know about Lila's Becoming Relationship Ready program. I had a different experience. There was no puppy in my lap. I want what is not available online. And so I have to create it. If it's not available, I have to create it. I'd always been perplexed by the abundance of interesting and attractive people around me who wanted to be in a relationship, but weren't able to find one they wanted to be in. My single friends who wanted to settle down, or the clients who really wanted to have that special person to share their life with. I wanted that for them. She and Aaron were in a long-term relationship, they've been married for a long time at this point. I waited for someone more qualified than I was to solve the puzzle. I imagined someone with lots of letters after their name arriving and clearing up this whole mess. Someone who sounded as if they knew what they were talking about. I could relate to that. Someone who had years of experience working with relationships. Well, I did actually. Yet a voice chatted away to me from the sideline of my mind as I carried on with my real job. It would chat to me as I walked to work on frosty mornings. If it's possible to help married couples come out of distress and frustration and fall back in love, and get that. Maybe someone could help people starting out in a relationship so they didn't have to go through the tunnel of pain. I just have to add this aside. On dating apps I've been on, I have helped men, I would say 3 or 4, get back with their spouse. They said that they're separated, and I said, well, you should read this book, by the way. The Secret of Love. And they get back. The Secret of Love, Unlock the Mystery, Unleash the Magic. Got to get the subtitle as well. And they get back with their relationship. Match.com should hire me. Anyway, the steam, it would chat to me as I stirred spicy soup on the stove, the steam warming my thoughts. Why is no one pointing out to her how much she has going on in her head while she's on dates? It would chat to me while I brush my teeth at night, the buzz of the toothbrush, a faint echo drowned out by the thoughts. I wonder what he wants to feel in this relationship. It would chat to me as I lay in the dark under the silent weight of my blanket. What would happen if I took away her tick list? What would she see and choose then? Would she date differently? Yep. And then one day I had a defining moment. It became clear that Relationship Ready was something I wanted to create. I was working with a mix of clients, business, youth, and charities focused on hopelessness. My work, that's one thought with her husband, Aaron. My work involved helping my clients understand how thoughts and feelings are created. I saw stressed out, worn out executives make huge jumps in effectiveness and enjoyment in their work life, as well as experience more lighthearted connections with their families and their lives in general. I have so many of stories of that. My work with youth had always felt like a meaningful use of my energy. Young people kept me on my toes, and learning with them was always rewarding. And the time I gave to charities felt important too. I learned a lot about working with people who'd felt the roughest edges of life. Me too. Moving my focus to another project made no logical sense on paper. I loved my work. I had job satisfaction. I didn't have room for more in my life. I was juggling kids, commutes, and the daily learning curve my job required. Despite logic, the idea would not go away. I remember the day, the hour, the moment I decided to bring my hunch into the world. This hunch had a life of its own. It felt independent from me. It had its own voice and heartbeat that, up until this point, had been beating in the back of my imagination for years. I get that. It was a late September afternoon in London. The light fell in shards of gold ribbons across the East London square outside the room where I was sitting with a small group of people. The cobbled square was a hive of office workers in gray suits that failed to reach ankles. Ooh, that was a while ago. Restaurant staff crammed into tight-fitting shades of black industrial polyester and pressed white cotton, and business startups whose owners curated themselves in deliberately crumpled, overpriced cotton and unstructured blazers. The river of activity was fueled by optimism and overpriced artisan coffee in tiny cups. The air had started to turn. A crisp breeze passed through the open window behind me, landed on my spine, and stirred a slight shiver. My face was hot. I was nervous. Our group of 9, including Aaron, my husband, and I, was made up of business owners, leaders, and entrepreneurs from London, Scotland, and Ireland. We were gathered for a small group forum Aaron had created to help business owners and executives solve their toughest challenges. I was a few years into my career change, having shifted from the fashion industry to being a consultant for One Thought. I was working with individuals and groups in the business world. I was loving my work and was excited to take part in this group. Aaron had been running it for a few months, and I could tell from listening to others in the group that there was something magical about it. Aaron cleared his throat and rested his hands on the notebook and silver fountain pen on the table in front of him. He waited as the room settled in, his body still. We were here to focus on one challenge chosen by the group, including Aaron and I. There were 4 women and 5 men. The men wore loose blazers and casual robes. I don't know what that word is. The British. The women were dressed in black jersey or smart denim. Our ages mixed from late 30s to mid 50s. We had varying levels of success and occupations ranging from government work to hospitality. Most either ran a business or had started one. Everyone had created a unique path for themselves within their field and was ready to explore the next opportunity. I was in a room filled with very capable individuals, a small fish in a big pond. The scarlet flush that rose from my shirt collar gave away my nervousness. We started the session by going around the varnished wood table. Each person gave a brief update on what they'd been up to since the last session, which included an overview of how they'd been doing inside themselves, how they were navigating clarity in the face of their challenges. Each of us also shared a current business challenge. The woman in black jersey who owned a property development company had a business partner who made her want to pull out her eyelash. The transitional guy with the dashing whiff and perfectly balanced vowels worked in his family business. and lived with the bubbling mix of fear and excitement accompanying a big decision he needed to make about a new business proposition. It had the potential to change years of tradition. There was the tall, lean man with soft hazel eyes and expressive hands who couldn't sit still. His mind produced a continual flow of aromatic ideas, like so many new dishes to taste, as he contemplated an evolution in his hospitality brand. There was the immaculate and fiercely sharp woman in her late 30s whose bright eyes made me blink. Her husky Irish accent sang across the room like cinnamon and pepper as she spoke about putting her training business online. Finally, we got to me. I felt less than capable. Everyone else was so much more experienced and grown up. I didn't have a website. I didn't have costing sheets, charts, or data from feedback groups. All I had was a persistent voice in my head. I cleared my throat as I shuffled in my seat. I want to work with professionals who are struggling to find love, I said in my voice, faint. I felt naked in this room of competence and big hitters. I felt as if I'd walked into my big sister's bedroom and failed to look cool or understand what everyone was talking about. The room paused on my idea and then moved on, eventually voting to work on the challenge of the guy with the velvet voice and family business. I sat back relieved. Whew. My self-consciousness dissolved and my cheeks returned to a comfortable cool. As my mind got quieter, the question of my business challenge melted away. I stopped thinking about my worries and insecurities and was able to just listen. Our job as participants was to listen to the person with the chosen challenge. There was space in the conversation. No one jumped in or tried to give advice. It was an open and rich discussion without an agenda. Those 3 lines are very, very important. We teach listening, and we always begin this way. Something we can do, actually, create a program of breakouts where people really learn to deep listen, because that's where the connection is. And most people listen with a whole cacophony of thoughts going on in their brain, like it's a ping pong game. One throws a thought out, the other one throws, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I had the same thing happen to me. And the first speaker feels like, well, no, what happened to you is not what happened to me. I'm almost done here. We have 10 more minutes, but I'll end early. Out of the blue, voice inside of me spoke, calm and crystal clear voice. You are going to do it. And we're going to, well, you know what? I'll come to the end of this and then stop recording so that we could discuss. In that moment, I knew in my soul that I would, regardless of my insecurities around it. I had a knowing. It felt much like the moment I realized I was pregnant. Although I had no bump and no test to prove something was different. Much like the moment Aaron and I decided to immigrate to one of the most expensive cities in the world in a financial crisis with a little savings because it felt right. Much like the moment I first fell in love, even though I didn't know what that should feel like. Something had changed. It wasn't a decision. I just knew. Relationship ready wasn't on any of my tick boxes, but deep down, the vision for it made so much sense. It was unnerving, a bit like dating without anything on your mind. The decision to work with people wanting to find love happened in a single moment of clarity, yet the inspirations behind the decision were numerous. A handful of seeds that had planted themselves in my mind of the previous 20 years. I could share the story of relationship ready by starting with the time I stood behind the couple in the coffee shop in a rural Midwestern town in the early 2000s. My attention caught by the woman with the chestnut bob who looked tight and unhappy. I could go further back to 1995 when I was in London doing my master's and listening to my talented, outgoing, and attractive friends complain about how difficult it was to meet someone. I could start with something that happened yesterday when I caught up with a client who, before we worked together, thought she had to be thinner or less successful to find a meaningful relationship. You can't believe how often I've heard that. Now she's in the most loving and connected relationship she's ever had. For the first time, she feels able to show up as she is in the moment with moods and feelings unedited. This capability didn't come from years of experience. It came after a short period of time spent looking at how her mind had been getting in the way of what was natural to her. It came after a short period of time spent looking at how her mind had been getting in the way of what was natural to her. I could also start with me, and she does. And this is an explanation of One Thought, is an organization that was co-founded by Aaron Turner and Maura Gleason in 2010 to help leaders and organizations work and live from a clearer state of mind. Maura Gleason and her husband Eric are working with gangs in Chicago. We're bringing it to New York. That's another story. Yeah, and they're called. I'll show you the next page. Part 1, my relationship journey. Yeah, they're called. I love the title because it's a peer supported. So these gang members become peers for each other, bringing each other up rather than keeping each other down. It's an amazing program. So more to come. I'm going to stop the recording, and if I can find it, and then we can open it up for discussion. There we go. Recording, stop recording.